Hello, I'm Brianna Halstied, Media Coordinator here at Hospice East Bay, and today I'm joined by Kathy and Ben to talk about nursing during National Nurses Week. In honor of National Nurses Week, my first question for you all is how did you get started in nursing?
I don't have a typical story. I started in nursing. It's just by chance that I hopped into nursing. I was one of those students that didn't know what to do going into college, so I continued that even after I got my bachelor's in psychology. It was due to my friend who introduced me into nursing after he helped me get a job in a psych facility. He said, nursing's easy, you gotta do nursing. And when I did my job as an activity coordinator in a psych facility, and then I saw what he did as a nurse in a psych facility, I kind of compare and contrast, and I was like, maybe I'll try to do nursing because he made it look so easy. But at that time, I still didn't know what I was gonna do. So not until that I went into nursing school that we did our first skills lab that I decided, hey, I think I like this. This is what I want to do.
I have the opposite story. I had decided when I was 4 years old I wanted to become a nurse, and so it's been a whole life journey to become a nurse. A lot of determination. I was told in high school I'd never get a job, and I was employed right out of school. I went to school in San Francisco and was hired by John Muir Hospital. Was hired into their preceptor program, which was a 6-week program where you got to float around to different floors and find out where you actually want to work when you're done with the program. And fell in love with the oncology floor. And so I worked for 12 years at John Muir on the oncology floor. In the last 2 years, I went back to school and became a nurse practitioner. And I love this nursing role as well. And I went from John Muir Hospital to working for one of the oncology doctors that I used to work with, and worked in the office for another 13 years. And it was time for a change, and always had said I would do hospice, and I wanted to do it with Hospice of the East Bay because being in oncology, you kind of get a feel for all the hospices. And my entire career I had referred to Hospice of the East Bay, and so I have not been disappointed in my 6 years here. This is a wonderful agency and they are just fantastic, and I love the work that I do here.
What motivates you to keep helping your patients, and how has that changed since this pandemic?
I'll say for me, I'm more aware as my nursing process. Before, as a nurse, you're always aware of like infectious control, how to protect yourself using certain PPEs. With this COVID going on, you're more aware. It more enhances it. Everywhere you go, I step in a facility, like my all my senses are enhanced. If I hear a cough, my ears would go up and I'll be listening. Why that person coughing? Or or if anything that I've noticed, like people wearing more PPE, I would start wondering what is going on. So I find out my senses are more heightened whenever I visit a facility more than usual. And how do I keep caring for my patient? I think part of it is my personality. I always wanted to have a job where I'm caring for people. So I'm actually working, like my role is to care for people. So I think it's just naturally for me that, I just keep going. I know how to turn it on, I know how to turn it off. So when I'm at work, I turn it on and my compassion and caring level is just right there 100%. And I'm constantly trying to care for my patients and making sure they're safe and well cared for.
I think for me, I think that the people I work with, like Ben, and working with people, having a successful interaction with the clients that we work with, where you walk away and the situation was different because you were there. I think that's what feeds me and keeps me going. It's having this job is so significant. You never doubt when you go to work if you made a difference that day, and I just feel so blessed by that. How it's different in COVID, it kind of took me by surprise. The COVID That it even affected me when I graduated from nursing school, and when I went through nursing school, I was in San Francisco, in the hospitals of San Francisco during the AIDS crisis. So kind of a similar level of fear back then, and it just had been so long, and we've gotten so used to universal precautions. So at this point, once I was able to straighten it in my mind, I'm like, okay, we're just back to that again, and more layers. So each visit is more layers. You literally have to just allow a little bit more time because everything just takes a little longer as you're applying PPE, which I'm so grateful we have PPEs. So thank you to our SLT for securing that for us.
Ben, you recently helped a patient who didn't have stable living conditions, but you helped her receive the care she needed. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yes, that patient. I am luckily I had the experience I had before taking care of this patient because I mentioned that I used to work in an inpatient hospice facility, and one of the case managers that mainly goes to that hospice facility, he actually took care. His main area is the Tenderloin in San Francisco, so his demographic of patients were very similar to the patient that I took care of. So a little bit of background that she was quite challenging in that she went from the hospital. She was a cancer patient, and then they discharged her to a motel. It was her choice, but knowing that a patient who chooses to go to a motel, that is not your typical hospice patient. So in a way, you can't think of them as your everyday run of the mill hospice patient. So going in there, so I had to know what it is going to be pretty challenging. But the thing that I always do with my patient is even with challenging patients, long as you show them compassion and be flexible. And that's all you need to do. And then when you gain their trust, pretty much half your work is done already. So the other part of it is, you just have to negotiate a lot. Just keep negotiating. Because with her, she stayed in a motel. She wasn't in the greatest situation to begin with. And every day when you go home, like she's just one of the patients where you constantly just think about, trying to think of other ways to make her situation better. Even though I said I know how to turn it off, there's certain patients you would think, you want to just keep helping them and you just can't turn it off. You could like dull it, but you can't turn it off. So in your head, just constantly just like think of ways just to make her situation better. So she had a lot of things going on, she was paranoid. I gained her trust, so she wasn't as paranoid as me. She liked to do things her way. Every plan that I ever thought of trying to make her safe, it didn't work out. Probably like maybe 10% of the plan worked out, and the other 90% we just have to adjust. So it just had to keep building layers just with the plan and just keep adjusting to what the patient will is willing to do just to keep her safe. And I'm glad I actually had the experience I had too, because if I didn't, naturally us as nurses we're fixers. We want to fix everything. So she was one of those patients where she won't allow you to fix everything. So if I didn't have the experience I had, I probably would have went crazy thinking of how trying to keep her safe, because you just won't satisfy your need to care for her, because she just won't let you. And we just have to accept the fact that everybody's different, and everybody, even though you're trying really hard, even trying 110 120%, if she only allows you to help her 50%, you just have to accept that, accept that 50%, and then trying to close the gap to get it to 100% for her to help you. So in that scenario, luckily she had a nephew and niece that she really trusted and really was there for her. Because if it wasn't for her nephew and niece, her situation would have continued to be bad. She went from there. I still continued to take care of her. That it was a better situation, but wasn't the best. And of course, the only place I can think of was to move her to my former job, which you have a case manager that's very familiar taking care of patients with the same scenarios or even worse, and know how to really care for her up to the next level. So it took a lot of coordination, a lot of negotiation, and in all levels, pretty much everything, social work, spiritual, home health aides, negotiating with her, the nephew, and even Kathy here. And there's plenty of phone calls that I call Kathy about, like, this patient is not doing this patient is need changes in their med here and there, and um, I'm thankful Kathy was always there. Also, Dr. Kova. Kathy is, Tuesday to Friday. I'm constantly calling her. Probably during that time span, I called her every from Tuesday to Friday about this patient because we practically saw her every day. So I'm luckily everything worked out, and we were able to move her and everything turned out well. She's still going to continue to be a challenge, but she's in a better scenario and it worked out. So I'm happy for that.
Yeah. And I think that some of our most important roles as nurses are advocates. And Ben is such a brilliant nurse advocate. So advocating for the needs and desires of the individual. And you also never give up, which is just a great thing. You don't, like you were trying to say, you can't fix everything in that situation, and you're okay with that, which is such a relief to somebody who really doesn't want you fixing something. So you're just so beautiful in the way that you do your practice.
Yeah, I'll say that comes with some experience and learning from other case managers. Before I became a case manager myself, I was an observer for a good 6 years. Noted observing good case managers, taking in their good practices and using their practices on my own. And then, of course, certain case managers don't have certain good practices, and I don't use those. So it comes with a lot of observation. So I think I did my homework before I became a case manager myself.
Thank you. I appreciate both of you for having, the time to come and chat with me. I know you guys have busy schedules and a lot of things going on, but thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you for hosting us.
Yeah, thank you for hosting us. It was our pleasure.
Thank you so much for watching. Bye.